Have you ever watched a story that slowly pulls you in, and before you even realize it, you're completely lost inside its world? War Machine is one of those films that doesn't just entertain, it makes you feel every moment. From the very beginning, the movie builds a sense of mystery and tension, where every scene carries meaning and every character hides something deeper beneath the surface. As the story unfolds, you start to see how small decisions lead to unexpected consequences. The film takes you through intense moments, emotional turns, and powerful scenes that keep you hooked till the very end. It's not just about what happens, it's about why it happens and how it changes everything. The characters in this film are not simple. Each one has a purpose, a backstory, and a role that connects to the bigger picture. Their performances bring life to the story, making every scene feel real and impactful. But what truly makes War Machine stand out is the way it was created, the vision behind the story, the effort put into its production, and the ideas that inspired it. Every detail, from storytelling to execution, adds something unique to the overall experience. In this video, we're going to break down the complete story, explore the characters, and analyze everything from its creation to its success. And just to be clear, this is not a full movie or a movie screening. It's a detailed review and analysis made for learning and entertainment purposes. So let's begin and take a closer look at War Machine. There is a moment at the start where everything feels controlled, precise, almost too perfect. The kind of calm that makes you uneasy because you know it will not last. A convoy moves through a silent desert under a pale sky, and nothing about it feels accidental. Every vehicle is aligned, every soldier is focused, and yet something invisible hangs over them. That tension becomes the first signal that this story is not about victory, it is about control slipping away. This is War Machine, released in February 2026, directed by Patrick Hughes and led by Alan Ritchson alongside Dennis Quaid, Stephen James, Jai Courtney, and others. The film leans into action and science fiction, but it does not rush into chaos. It builds its world with intention. This is a review and breakdown, not the full movie, and the focus here is on understanding what the story is doing beneath the surface. The tone stays grounded even when the technology becomes extreme, and that contrast becomes important very early. The opening stretches just enough to let you settle into its rhythm. The desert is not just a location, it feels like a testing ground. Soldiers move with discipline, but their eyes tell a different story. There is fatigue, but also doubt. Alan Ritchson's character, Captain Riker, stands slightly apart from the rest. He does not bark orders or dominate the space, but his presence carries weight. His silence feels deliberate, as if he is constantly calculating something others are not yet aware of. The mission at first sounds routine. Secure a research facility, extract sensitive data, and move out before sunrise. It is the kind of operation that has been done before, but the way it is presented makes it clear this one is different. The briefing avoids specifics, which immediately raises suspicion. Dennis Quaid's character, General Harrow, delivers instructions with a calm that feels rehearsed. He does not invite questions, and that absence of transparency begins to shape the mood. As the convoy approaches the facility, the environment starts to shift. The wind picks up, carrying fine sand that reduces visibility. Communication becomes slightly distorted, not enough to alarm anyone, but enough to feel off. These small disruptions are handled with subtlety. Nothing explodes, nothing dramatic happens yet, but the sense of control starts to crack. This slow buildup works because it allows you to feel the unease before anything goes wrong. Inside the facility, the design feels sterile and almost lifeless. Long corridors, minimal lighting, and an absence of human presence create a strange contrast. For a place that is supposed to be active, it feels abandoned. Riker moves carefully, scanning every corner, while the rest of the team follows protocol. There is a moment where one soldier hesitates before entering a room, and that hesitation lingers. It suggests that instinct is beginning to override training. The first real sign that something is wrong comes not from an attack, but from silence. Systems that should be running are inactive. Screens flicker with incomplete data. Doors respond with slight delays. These details build a sense that the facility is not shut down, but rather controlled by something unseen. Stephen James' character, Malik, who handles tech operations, starts noticing patterns that do not make sense. His expressions shift from focus to concern, and that transition feels natural. Riker does not react immediately, and that choice defines his character. He observes, processes, and waits. There is a restraint in how he operates, which makes his decisions feel earned. When he finally orders a deeper sweep of the facility, it does not feel like a reaction, it feels like a calculated move. This measured approach contrasts with the growing tension around him, creating a strong internal dynamic within the team. As they move deeper, the environment changes subtly. The temperature drops, and the lighting becomes colder. It is not explained directly, but it adds to the atmosphere. The deeper they go, the more disconnected they become from the outside world. Communication with command starts breaking down, and when they do get a response, it feels delayed and fragmented. This isolation becomes one of the strongest elements in this section of the story. Malik discovers a secure lab that is still active. Unlike the rest of the facility, this area is fully operational. The contrast is sharp. Bright lights, active screens, and a hum of machinery create a sense that something important is still happening here. He calls Riker over, and for the first time, there is a visible shift in Riker's composure. It is subtle, but it is there. He recognizes something about this setup that the others do not. Inside the lab, the film introduces its central concept without fully revealing it. There are containment units, but they are empty. Data logs show activity, but not in a way that is easy to understand. The language used in the files is technical, but also vague, as if designed to obscure more than explain. Malik tries to piece it together, but the more he looks, the less clear it becomes. This confusion is intentional and effective. Then comes a moment that changes the tone completely. A faint sound echoes through the lab. It is not loud, but it is distinct enough to stop everyone. The team freezes, trying to locate its source. The sound repeats, slightly closer this time. It is mechanical, but not entirely. There is something irregular about it, something that does not follow a predictable pattern. This is where the film begins to shift from tension to anticipation. Riker signals for silence, and the camera lingers on each character's face. Fear is not fully visible yet, but uncertainty is. Jai Courtney's character, Briggs, grips his weapon tighter, his posture becoming more defensive. The team is trained for combat, but this situation does not fit any standard scenario. That unfamiliarity creates a different kind of pressure, one that is harder to manage. The sound stops as suddenly as it began. For a brief moment, everything returns to stillness. That pause is more unsettling than the noise itself. It creates a false sense of relief, which the film uses effectively. Riker does not relax, and that decision reinforces his role as someone who anticipates danger rather than reacts to it. Malik finally accesses a portion of the data that provides a hint. The project name appears on the screen, partially corrupted but still readable enough to understand its significance. War Machine. The words carry weight, even without context. They suggest scale, intention, and something beyond conventional warfare. This reveal is handled with restraint, allowing the audience to feel its importance without over-explaining. Riker studies the screen, and for the first time, there is a clear shift in his demeanor. His focus sharpens, and his movements become more deliberate. It is as if he has connected a piece of information that changes everything. He orders the team to regroup, but there is an urgency now that was not present before. The mission is no longer just about extraction, it is about understanding what they have stepped into. As they prepare to move out of the lab, the environment reacts. Lights flicker, systems begin to activate, and the facility feels like it is waking up. This transition is smooth but impactful. It signals that their presence has triggered something. The calm, controlled space is no longer passive. It is responding. This closes with a single, controlled moment. A door at the end of the corridor slowly opens on its own. No one is near it. No command has been given. The team stands still, watching, waiting. Riker does not speak immediately. He studies the opening, as if expecting something to emerge. The silence stretches just long enough to become uncomfortable. Nothing comes out, but the message is clear. They are no longer alone in this space. The open doorway does not invite movement, it challenges it. No one steps forward at first, not because they are afraid in a visible way, but because their instincts are now working against their training. The corridor beyond looks identical to the ones they have already crossed, yet something about it feels different. The air seems heavier, the silence more deliberate. Riker studies the space for a few seconds longer than expected, then signals the team to shift formation, tighter, more controlled, less exposed. They move slowly, boots pressing against the cold floor with careful precision. Every sound feels amplified now. A slight scrape, a controlled breath, the faint hum of distant machinery, all of it builds pressure. Briggs takes point for a moment, his posture rigid, scanning every angle as if expecting something to move at the edge of his vision. Malik stays close to Riker, still processing what he saw in the lab, his focus split between the physical space and the implications of that data. The corridor stretches longer than it should. That detail becomes noticeable after a few steps. It is not that the structure is changing, but the perception of distance feels distorted. The lighting remains consistent, yet the shadows seem to linger in ways that do not match the geometry of the space. This subtle visual tension adds to the unease without drawing direct attention to itself. It feels intentional, like the environment is quietly resisting their presence. A soft metallic sound echoes again, closer this time, sharper, almost like a joint locking into place. The team halts instantly. Weapons rise, not in panic, but in controlled readiness. Riker does not turn his head quickly or make sudden gestures. He listens. That choice slows the moment down, forcing attention onto the sound itself rather than immediate reaction. The noise repeats, slightly offset, as if something is adjusting its position just out of sight. Briggs leans slightly toward the wall, checking an adjacent passage, but it is empty. There is no visible movement, no clear source. This absence becomes more unsettling than a direct threat. The unknown forces the team into a defensive mindset that limits their ability to act. Malik glances back briefly, as if expecting something behind them, then refocuses forward. That small shift shows how quickly confidence is breaking down. Riker finally gestures forward again, but the pace changes. Each step is slower, more deliberate, as if he is measuring distance and timing at the same time. The corridor begins to open into a wider section, and the architecture shifts slightly. The walls are no longer uniform. Panels show signs of recent activity, faint scratches, minor distortions, as if something has moved through here with force, but not in a chaotic way. It feels controlled, purposeful. At the center of this expanded space, there is a suspended structure, partially enclosed, with cables running into the ceiling and floor. It looks like a containment unit, but unlike the ones in the lab, this one is not empty. It is powered, active, and surrounded by a low-frequency vibration that can be felt more than heard. The team stops at a distance, instinctively recognizing that this is not something to approach without understanding. Malik steps slightly forward, his curiosity pushing against caution. He studies the structure, trying to match it with the fragmented data he accessed earlier. The design does not align with conventional military tech. It is more advanced, but also more experimental, the kind of system that is not meant for stable deployment. His expression tightens as he realizes that whatever this project is, it has moved beyond testing. Riker does not allow anyone to get too close. He raises a hand, holding the line, and circles slightly to get a different angle. His movements are controlled, but there is a clear shift in urgency now. He is no longer just assessing, he is anticipating escalation. That shift becomes more evident when the vibration in the room intensifies, just enough to make the cables tremble. Then, without warning, the structure emits a brief pulse of light. It is not bright, but it is sharp, and it cuts through the space with precision. Everyone reacts instantly, stepping back, weapons up, eyes locked on the source. The pulse fades as quickly as it appeared, leaving the room in its previous state, but the effect lingers. It confirms that the system is active and responsive. Briggs mutters something under his breath, not loud enough to break tension, but enough to show that even he is unsettled. He shifts his stance, adjusting his grip, trying to regain a sense of control. That small human reaction grounds the moment. It reminds you that despite the training and discipline, this situation is outside their experience. Malik finally speaks, his voice low but steady. He suggests that the system might be detecting their presence, not visually, but through some other metric. Heat, movement, maybe even biometric signals. The idea adds another layer of complexity. It means they are not just being watched, they are being analyzed. Riker absorbs this quickly, adjusting his approach without hesitation. He orders a partial withdrawal from the immediate area, not a retreat, but a repositioning. The team moves back toward the corridor, maintaining visual contact with the structure. This decision reflects his priority: control the situation before it controls them. It is a subtle but important shift in strategy. As they pull back, the environment reacts again. This time, the response is more noticeable. Lights along the corridor flicker in sequence, not randomly, but in a pattern that follows their movement. It feels like a tracking system, something that is mapping their position in real time. The effect is quiet but deeply unsettling. The metallic sound returns, now accompanied by a faint rhythmic pattern. It is no longer isolated. It has structure. That change signals progression. Whatever is generating that sound is no longer adjusting, it is operating. The team reaches the corridor entrance, and for a brief moment, everything aligns. The sound, the lights, the movement, it all converges into a single point of tension. Then it happens. A figure moves at the far end of the corridor, too fast to fully register, but clear enough to confirm presence. It is not human in its movement. The motion is precise, almost mechanical, but not rigid. There is fluidity in the way it shifts position, as if it is adapting in real time. The team reacts instantly, weapons aimed, but the figure is gone before any shot is taken. That single glimpse changes everything. Briggs steps forward instinctively, but Riker stops him with a firm gesture. There is no hesitation in that command. He understands that chasing something they do not understand would be a mistake. The priority shifts again from exploration to containment. The mission is evolving in ways that were never outlined. Malik's breathing becomes more controlled, but faster. He is trying to stay focused, but the realization is setting in. The data, the empty units, the active systems, it all points to one conclusion. This is not a facility that stores weapons. This is a facility that creates them, or something far more advanced. Riker makes a decision that defines the rest of this sequence. He orders a full regroup and prepares to establish a defensive perimeter within the facility. It is a bold move, but it reflects his understanding of the situation. Leaving now without clarity could be more dangerous than staying. That choice adds weight to his character. He is not driven by orders alone, but by judgment. As the team repositions, the camera lingers on the corridor where the figure appeared. The space is empty again, but the sense of presence remains. The lighting stabilizes, the sounds fade slightly, but nothing returns to normal. That tension stays locked in place, waiting to escalate. As it closes on Riker's face, calm but sharpened, as he looks toward the darkness ahead. He is no longer trying to understand what this place is. He is preparing for what it can do. The decision to hold position inside an unknown facility would sound reckless in any standard operation, but here it feels calculated. Riker is not chasing answers anymore. He is forcing the situation to reveal itself. The team spreads out just enough to cover multiple angles while still maintaining tight communication. Every movement is quieter now, more deliberate, as if even the smallest mistake could trigger something irreversible. Briggs takes up a position near the corridor intersection, watching the direction where the figure appeared. His stance is solid, but his eyes are more active than before. He is scanning constantly, not just for movement but for patterns. That shift shows he is adapting, even if he does not fully understand what he is dealing with. Malik stays closer to the central area, working with a portable interface unit, trying to access the facility's internal systems without exposing himself too much. The environment does not stay still for long. A low hum begins to build again, not from one direction, but from everywhere at once. It is subtle at first, almost blending into the background, but it gradually becomes more defined. The frequency feels intentional, like a signal rather than noise. This time, it does not stop. It sustains, creating a constant pressure that sits under every moment. Riker notices it immediately. He does not comment on it out loud, but his posture shifts slightly. He is listening not just with his ears, but with instinct. The hum creates a rhythm, and within that rhythm, there are variations. Small changes that suggest activity, movement, progression. It feels like the facility is no longer reacting to them. It is initiating something on its own. Malik finally manages to break through a layer of the system's security. The interface flickers, resisting access, but it does not fully lock him out. That partial access is enough to reveal fragments of information. The data is not organized in a way that is easy to follow. It is layered, segmented, and in some cases deliberately obscured. This is not just protection. It feels like containment of information itself. He calls Riker over, keeping his voice controlled but urgent. What he has found is not a clear answer, but it is enough to confirm a direction. The project labeled War Machine is not a single system. It is a network. Multiple units, multiple iterations, all connected through a shared framework. The facility is not just a storage site. It is a live operational hub. Riker processes this quickly. His focus sharpens, but his expression remains steady. He asks one question, simple and direct. Are they autonomous? Malik hesitates for a fraction of a second before responding. Not fully. That answer lands with weight. It means there is still some level of control, but it is not absolute. That gap is where danger exists. Before they can push further, the hum shifts again. This time it spikes, just enough to break its steady pattern. The change is immediate and noticeable. Lights along the walls dim slightly, then stabilize. The air feels colder, sharper. It is not a dramatic transformation, but it is enough to signal that something has advanced to the next stage. Briggs reacts first. He spots movement again, this time closer, just beyond the edge of the corridor. It is not a full figure, more like a partial outline, a shape that does not fully resolve before disappearing. He does not fire. That restraint shows growth, but also uncertainty. He is waiting for confirmation, and that hesitation becomes part of the tension. Riker moves toward his position, not rushing, but closing the distance with purpose. He does not look directly where Briggs is pointing at first. Instead, he studies the surrounding space, the angles, the shadows, the possible paths. He is trying to understand how something could move that fast without leaving a clear trace. Then it happens again, but this time it does not disappear immediately. The figure steps into partial view at the far end of the corridor. It is still distant, but clearer than before. The shape is humanoid, but the movement is not natural. It does not shift weight the way a human body does. Its posture is too balanced, too precise. The surface reflects light in a way that suggests a metallic composition, but not rigid plating. It looks adaptive, almost fluid in how it holds form. No one speaks. The silence becomes absolute. The figure tilts its head slightly, not in curiosity, but in calculation. That small motion carries more weight than any aggressive action. It suggests awareness, not just of presence, but of observation. It is studying them as much as they are studying it. Briggs tightens his grip again, but still does not fire. Malik freezes, his focus locked on the figure, trying to match it with anything in the data. There is nothing. No clear reference, no classification. That absence reinforces the idea that this is beyond standard military design. Riker steps slightly forward, just enough to shift the dynamic. He does not raise his weapon immediately. That decision is deliberate. He is testing the response. The figure remains still for a moment, then mirrors the movement in a subtle way. It does not step forward, but its posture adjusts, aligning more directly with him. That interaction changes the tone completely. This is no longer a hidden threat moving in the shadows. This is an active presence, capable of engagement, but choosing not to attack. The restraint is not comforting. It is controlled. It implies intention. The hum in the facility deepens, becoming more layered. It now carries multiple frequencies, overlapping in a way that feels structured. The environment is synchronizing with the presence in front of them. That connection becomes impossible to ignore. Malik whispers something under his breath, more to himself than anyone else. He suggests that the system might be learning in real time. Not just reacting, but adapting based on interaction. The idea shifts the entire situation. It means every move they make is being processed, evaluated, and potentially countered. Riker finally raises his weapon, not as an immediate threat, but as a statement. The figure does not react aggressively. Instead, it takes a single step back. That movement is smooth, controlled, and almost silent. It is not retreating in fear. It is creating distance, maintaining balance. Then, without warning, the lights in the corridor cut out for a fraction of a second. It is brief, almost imperceptible, but when they come back on, the figure is gone. No sound, no transition, just absence. Briggs exhales sharply, the tension releasing just enough to be noticeable. Malik looks back at his interface, as if expecting new data to appear. Riker remains still, his focus locked on the empty space where the figure stood. He does not move immediately. He is processing, recalibrating. The encounter has shifted everything. This is not a malfunctioning system. It is not an abandoned experiment. It is active, aware, and operating with a level of control that was never disclosed. The mission they were given no longer applies in the same way. The objective is no longer extraction. It is survival, understanding, and containment, all at the same time. Riker lowers his weapon slowly, but his posture does not relax. He gives a quiet command to tighten the perimeter even further. No one argues. The team moves with renewed focus, but the tension has changed. It is no longer about what might happen. It is about what is already happening. As they reposition, the hum fades slightly, but it does not disappear. It settles into a lower frequency, like a system idling after a test. That calm feels temporary. The facility has shown its capability, but not its full intent. The part ends with a subtle but important shift. Malik's interface flickers again, and this time, a new line of data appears on the screen. It is not corrupted. It is clear, precise, and recent. Activation sequence, Phase 2 initiated. The words on Malik's screen do not need interpretation. They are direct, controlled, and recent enough to feel immediate. Phase 2 is not a warning about what might happen later. It is confirmation that something has already progressed beyond the point they understood. Malik stares at the line for a moment longer than necessary, as if expecting it to change, but it remains stable, almost deliberate in its clarity. Riker steps closer, his attention fixed on the interface. He does not ask what it means right away. He reads it himself, letting the weight of it settle. His expression tightens, not out of panic, but calculation. A second phase implies a first one already completed, and that realization shifts the timeline in his mind. Whatever they walked into has been active longer than they were told. Briggs moves in slightly, keeping his weapon angled toward the corridor while trying to catch a glimpse of the screen. He does not fully lower his guard, but his curiosity pushes through. The rest of the team adjusts positions again, forming a tighter defensive shape. No one wants to be the one facing an open angle now. The environment has proven that threats do not announce themselves in predictable ways. Malik scrolls through the available data, but the system resists deeper access. It allows surface-level visibility, enough to inform, but not enough to explain. That limitation feels intentional. It is not just security. It is control over what can be known. He finds fragments tied to Phase 2, but they are incomplete, broken into segments that do not form a full picture. One piece stands out. Synchronization protocols active. He reads it quietly, almost under his breath, but Riker hears it. That word, synchronization, connects too well with what they have already experienced. The coordinated lighting, the patterned sounds, the precise movements of the figure. None of it felt random. It all followed a system that was aligning itself in real time. Before they can process further, the hum in the facility changes again. This time it does not build gradually. It shifts instantly into a more structured pattern. Short pulses, evenly spaced, like a signal being transmitted across multiple channels. The effect is subtle, but it carries intention. It feels like communication, not noise. Riker raises his head slightly, listening. His eyes move across the space, not searching for a target, but tracking the rhythm itself. He is trying to understand how the environment is behaving, not just reacting. That shift in focus keeps him one step ahead of panic, but it also confirms that the situation is evolving faster than expected. Then the lights respond. Instead of flickering randomly, they begin to dim in sections, one after another, moving through the facility in a controlled sequence. The pattern is too precise to ignore. It starts deeper within the structure and moves outward, like a wave. When it reaches their position, the brightness drops just enough to alter visibility, not enough to blind them, but enough to change perception. Briggs notices it first. He adjusts his stance, shifting slightly to compensate for the reduced light. His breathing remains steady, but his movements are sharper now. He is reacting faster, anticipating less. That change shows how quickly the pressure is shaping behavior. Malik grips his device tighter, trying to maintain access as the system fluctuates. The interface becomes less stable, responding slower, as if the facility is prioritizing other functions. He tries to lock in what data he can before losing it completely. Every second feels critical now. Riker makes a decision without hesitation. He orders the team to move back toward the main lab area. Not as a retreat, but as a reposition to a space they partially understand. It is a strategic choice. Open corridors favor whatever is moving through the facility. Controlled environments, even partially understood ones, offer some level of advantage. The team moves quickly but carefully, maintaining formation. The corridor feels different now. The same space that felt empty before now feels occupied, even when nothing is visible. The shadows seem deeper, the air heavier. Every step carries weight, as if the environment is observing them more closely. Halfway back, the sound returns. This time it is not a single metallic shift. It is layered movement, multiple points of contact happening in sequence. It echoes through the structure in a way that suggests more than one presence. That realization lands instantly. Whatever they saw before was not alone. Briggs turns slightly, covering the rear, his focus sharp and unwavering. His earlier hesitation is gone. He is ready to act, but still waiting for a clear target. That balance between control and urgency defines his role in this moment. Riker does not slow down. He keeps the team moving, trusting that stopping now would give whatever is out there the advantage. His pace is measured but firm. He is controlling the flow, refusing to let the situation dictate their movement. As they reach the lab entrance, the lighting stabilizes briefly, creating a strange contrast. The space looks almost normal again, bright and controlled, but the tension does not fade. It lingers, embedded in every movement, every glance. Malik moves straight to the main console, reconnecting his device with the system. He works faster now, less cautious, more urgent. The interface resists again, but not completely. It allows glimpses, short bursts of information that feel almost intentional. A new line appears. Multiple units active. He freezes for a second, then reads it again just to be sure. The wording is simple, but the implication is massive. This is not a single entity adapting within the facility. It is a network of active units, all operating under the same system. Riker processes it instantly. His expression does not change dramatically, but his eyes sharpen. The situation has escalated beyond containment. This is no longer about one unknown threat. It is about coordinated systems moving with purpose. Before he can respond, the lab itself reacts. One of the containment units, previously inactive, begins to power up. The lights around it shift from dim to active, and the low vibration returns, stronger this time. The cables connected to it tighten slightly, as if responding to internal pressure. The system is not just active. It is preparing something. The team spreads out instinctively, creating distance while maintaining coverage. No one moves too far. They have learned that isolation is dangerous here. Every position is chosen with intent, every angle covered as much as possible. Malik tries to access the specific unit, but the system blocks him completely. This part is locked down beyond his reach. That restriction feels different from before. It is not passive security. It is active denial. The system is choosing what cannot be accessed. Riker steps closer, just enough to observe without crossing into immediate risk. His focus is intense, but controlled. He is not reacting emotionally. He is analyzing, preparing for the next move before it happens. The unit emits a soft pulse, similar to what they saw earlier, but stronger. The light expands slightly, then contracts, like a controlled breath. The effect is almost organic, despite the mechanical structure. It blurs the line between machine and something else entirely. Then the sound changes again. This time it is not distant. It is right behind them. Briggs turns instantly, weapon raised, eyes locked on the source. The rest of the team pivots in sync, their training taking over. The movement is sharp, coordinated, and precise. A figure stands at the edge of the lab entrance. Not distant, not hidden, present. It is clearer now than before. The structure of it is defined, but still not fully understood. The surface shifts slightly under the light, not in a way that suggests damage or instability, but adaptation. It is adjusting to the environment in real time. It does not attack. It does not move forward. It stands there, observing. The tension in the room tightens to a point where even breathing feels loud. Riker does not fire. He holds his position, his weapon steady, his focus locked. This is no longer about immediate combat. It is about understanding intention. The figure tilts its head again, that same controlled motion from before. It studies them not as targets, but as variables. That distinction becomes clear in the stillness. Then, slowly, almost deliberately, another shape appears behind it. And then another. They do not rush in. They do not spread out. They align. The realization hits instantly. This is coordination. The part ends on that image. Multiple units standing in formation at the edge of the lab, silent, controlled, and waiting. The formation at the lab entrance does not break, and that stillness carries more pressure than any immediate attack could. Each unit stands in alignment, not perfectly identical, but close enough to suggest they are operating under the same command structure. Their positioning is not random. It creates a controlled boundary, a line that feels intentional, almost territorial. They are not rushing forward, and that restraint becomes the most unsettling detail in the room. Riker does not lower his weapon, but he does not fire either. His decision holds the entire team in place. Every instinct trained into them pushes toward action, yet something about this moment demands patience. He studies the units carefully, looking for differences in movement, timing, or posture. What stands out is not variation, but consistency. They are synchronized at a level that feels calculated down to the smallest detail. Briggs shifts his weight slightly, just enough to adjust his stance without breaking formation. His eyes move between the units, tracking each one individually, trying to predict which might move first. That effort creates a different kind of tension. It is no longer about reacting to a single threat. It is about managing multiple variables at once, all capable of acting in ways they do not fully understand. Malik remains near the console, but his focus is no longer on the screen. He watches the units with a mixture of analysis and disbelief. The data he accessed did not prepare him for this level of coordination. The idea of multiple active systems was one thing. Seeing them operate together in real time is something else entirely. It confirms that whatever this project is, it has moved beyond experimental boundaries. The hum in the facility shifts again, now layered with a sharper frequency that cuts through the air. It aligns with the presence of the units, as if they are generating it or responding to it. The sound is not overwhelming, but it is precise. It carries a rhythm that feels like communication, not just between the units, but across the entire structure. One of the units at the front makes a small movement. It is not aggressive. It does not step forward. Instead, its head turns slightly, scanning the room with a controlled, deliberate motion. The rest do not follow immediately. They remain still, holding formation, while that single unit adjusts its focus. This selective movement suggests hierarchy or at least a division of roles within the group. Riker notices it instantly. His eyes lock onto that unit, recognizing the shift in behavior. He adjusts his stance slightly, angling himself to maintain a clear line of sight without exposing the rest of the team. His control over the situation is subtle but critical. He is not just reacting. He is shaping the response of his team in real time. The unit completes its scan and then stills again. For a brief moment, everything returns to silence. No movement, no sound beyond the steady hum. That pause feels intentional, like a reset before the next action. Then the containment unit behind the team pulses again. This time the light is stronger, more defined. It expands outward, casting sharp reflections across the lab. The cables connected to it tighten further, and the vibration increases. The system is not just active. It is reaching a new level of output. The timing of this escalation, paired with the presence of the units, feels coordinated. Malik turns back to the console, urgency replacing hesitation. He tries to access the system again, pushing past the resistance with more force than before. The interface flickers, struggling to maintain stability, but it does not shut him out completely. It allows fragments through, short bursts of information that feel almost intentional. He catches one line before it disappears. Integration in progress. The meaning is not immediately clear, but the timing makes it impossible to ignore. Integration of what? The units? The system? Something else entirely? The question lingers, unanswered, but heavy with implication. Riker hears it and processes it quickly. His focus shifts between the units and the containment structure. The connection is forming in his mind, even if the full picture is not visible yet. The system is not just activating units. It is linking them, possibly enhancing them in ways that were not part of the original design. Briggs takes a slow step to the side, adjusting his angle to cover more of the entrance. The movement is controlled, but it draws a response. One of the units mirrors the motion. Not exactly, but close enough to be intentional. That interaction changes the dynamic instantly. It confirms that they are not just being observed. They are being studied and responded to in real time. Every movement is data. Every adjustment is being processed. The tension in the room tightens further. Riker raises his hand slightly, signaling the team to minimize movement. The command is silent but clear. Limit variables. Reduce exposure. Do not give the system more than it already has. The team responds immediately, locking into position with renewed discipline. The units remain still again, but the stillness feels different now. It is no longer passive. It is active waiting. Then, without warning, the front unit steps forward. The movement is smooth, controlled, and completely silent. It crosses the threshold of the lab entrance, breaking the boundary that had been holding the tension in place. The rest of the units do not follow immediately. They remain where they are, maintaining formation, as if this single unit is acting with a specific purpose. Briggs reacts instantly, weapon raised, ready to fire. Riker stops him. The command is sharp, controlled, and absolute. That decision holds the moment together. The unit continues forward, stopping at a measured distance from the team. It does not rush. It does not show aggression. It simply stands there, closer now, more defined under the lab lighting. The details of its structure become clearer. The surface is not solid metal. It shifts subtly, adapting to light and movement, almost like a living material layered over a mechanical core. Its head tilts again, that same calculated motion, but this time it holds the position longer. It is focusing on Riker. That connection feels deliberate. Riker does not move. He holds his ground, meeting the focus without hesitation. This is no longer a standoff in the traditional sense. It is something closer to an exchange, even if no words are spoken. The hum in the facility deepens, aligning with the moment. The rhythm becomes more complex, layered with subtle variations that suggest active processing. The system is not idle. It is engaged at every level. Malik watches this unfold, his mind racing to connect what he is seeing with the data he has accessed. The idea of integration returns, stronger now. This interaction could be part of that process. Not just linking systems, but learning from human response in real time. The unit makes one final movement. It raises its arms slightly, not in a threatening way, but in a controlled, deliberate gesture. The motion is slow enough to avoid triggering immediate reaction, but clear enough to carry meaning. Then it stops. Everything holds. No attack. No retreat. Just a moment suspended between two sides trying to understand each other. Behind it, the other units remain in formation, silent and unmoving, reinforcing the sense that this is not random behavior. It is structured, intentional, and part of something larger. The containment unit pulses again, brighter than before, and the vibration peaks for a brief second before stabilizing. The connection is undeniable now. Whatever phase 2 is, it is happening in this room. The part ends with Riker still facing the unit, unflinching, as the system around them continues to evolve. The raised arm of the unit stays suspended in place, and the stillness that follows feels deliberate, almost controlled to the second. Nothing about the gesture looks random. It is measured, restrained, and timed with the rising intensity of the system behind them. The containment unit continues to pulse in steady intervals, each wave of light slightly stronger than the last, as if building towards something that has not yet fully formed. Riker does not respond immediately. He studies the gesture, not just the movement, but the intent behind it. His weapon remains steady, but his finger stays off the trigger. That detail matters. It shows restraint, not hesitation. He is choosing to hold this moment instead of breaking it. The decision shapes everything that follows. Briggs is on edge now, more than before. His stance tightens, his shoulders locked, ready to react at the smallest shift. The presence of multiple units behind the one in front keeps his focus split. He cannot afford to commit to a single target, and that uncertainty increases the pressure. Every second stretches longer than it should. Malik watches closely, his breathing controlled but faster. He is not just observing anymore. He is trying to understand the pattern forming between the unit, the system, and Riker's response. The word integration keeps returning in his mind, but now it feels less like a technical process and more like an interaction. Something is being tested here. The unit lowers its arms slowly. The movement is smooth, almost careful, as if designed not to provoke. It returns to a neutral position, then remains still again. That action feels like a completed step, not a retreat. It reinforces the idea that this is a sequence, not random behavior. Then the system reacts. The containment unit behind the team emits a sharper pulse, brighter and more concentrated. The cables connected to it tighten further, and a low vibration travels through the floor, noticeable enough to affect balance for a brief moment. The air itself feels charged, as if energy is building in a contained space that is reaching its limit. Malik turns back to the console, urgency pushing him forward. He tries again to access deeper layers, this time focusing on the containment system itself. The interface resists, but it flickers just enough to reveal fragments. Numbers, sequences, partial diagnostics. None of it forms a complete picture, but one detail stands out. Energy transfer active. He says it quietly, but the impact is immediate. Riker hears it and shifts his focus for the first time away from the unit in front of him. Just for a second. He glances at the containment structure, then back at the unit. The connection sharpens in his mind. The system is not just powering up. It is channeling something, possibly into or through the units. That realization changes the risk entirely. Before anyone can act on it, the unit in front of them moves again. This time it steps closer. The distance closes by a small margin, but it feels significant. It is now well within engagement range, close enough that any sudden movement could trigger a response from both sides. The tension spikes instantly. Briggs adjusts his aim, unable to hold back the instinct any longer. His weapon aligns directly with the unit center. The rest of the team follows, creating a focused line of defense. The formation tightens, compressing space and options. Riker does not stop them this time. He keeps his own weapon steady, but his posture shifts slightly forward. He is not backing down, but he is not escalating blindly either. He is matching the movement, holding the balance at a point where it could break in either direction. The unit stops again. Its head tilts slightly, then centers. The movement is precise, almost mechanical, but there is something else in it now. A sense of adjustment, as if it is refining its understanding of the situation. Then the hum changes. It sharpens into a higher frequency, layered over the existing rhythm. The sound is no longer just environmental. It feels directed, focused, almost like a signal being transmitted through the space between them. Malik feels it more than hears it. A pressure builds in his ears, subtle but noticeable. He looks up from the console, eyes narrowing, trying to understand what is happening. The interface in front of him reacts, lines of data shifting rapidly, as if responding to the same signal. He catches another fragment. Neural mapping in progress. This time, the words hit harder. He does not say it out loud immediately. He processes it, trying to make sense of what it implies. Neural mapping suggests interaction at a level beyond physical movement. It suggests analysis of behavior, reaction, possibly even thought patterns. Riker notices the shift in Malik's expression. "What is it?" he asks, his voice low but firm. Malik hesitates for a fraction of a second, then answers. "It's learning us." The words settle into the room with weight. The unit in front of them remains still, but the timing feels too precise to ignore. The system is active, the signal is ongoing, and the behavior of the unit aligns with that process. This is not just observation anymore. It is adaptation in real time. Briggs tightens his grip again, the pressure now pushing him closer to action. He is trained to neutralize threats, not stand still while being studied. The conflict shows in his posture, in the slight tension in his arms. He is holding the line, but just barely. Riker senses it. "Hold," he says, sharper this time. The command cuts through the tension, grounding the team for another moment. Then everything shifts at once. The containment unit behind them emits its strongest pulse yet. The light expands rapidly, filling the lab with a sharp, white intensity that forces everyone to react. Shadows disappear. Edges blur. The entire space feels saturated with energy for a brief, overwhelming second. At the same time, the unit in front of them reacts. Not with aggression, with speed. It moves in a way that is almost impossible to track, closing distance and then stopping just short of Riker. The motion is controlled, precise, and faster than anything they have seen so far. Weapons snap upward, fingers tense on triggers, but no shot is fired. Because the unit stops. Right in front of him. Close enough to see detail. Close enough to feel presence. The surface of it shifts subtly under the light, reflecting not just the environment, but movement itself. It feels less like a machine now and more like something adapting continuously, refining its form based on what it encounters. Riker does not step back. That decision defines the moment. He stands his ground, meeting the proximity without flinching. His focus is absolute, locked onto the unit as if trying to understand it through sheer will. The hum peaks. The signal sharpens. For a brief second, everything aligns. Then the light from the containment unit collapses back inward, the intensity dropping just as quickly as it rose. The room returns to its previous state, but the impact lingers. The unit in front of Riker tilts its head one final time. Then it steps back. Slowly, deliberately, returning to the edge of the lab. The rest of the units remain in formation, unchanged, as if this entire sequence was a controlled test. Malik looks back at the interface, and this time the data is clear. Mapping complete. The words stay on the screen, steady and uncorrupted. The implication is immediate. Whatever just happened, the system got what it needed. The words on Malik's screen stay fixed, unchanging, almost indifferent to the weight they carry. Mapping complete is not just a status update. It feels like a threshold has been crossed. Whatever the system needed from that interaction, it now has it. The silence that follows is not empty. It is filled with the awareness that the next move will not come from confusion or testing. It will come from certainty. Riker does not look at the screen right away. His eyes remain on the unit that stepped back into formation. The distance between them has been restored, but the dynamic has shifted. Before, there was uncertainty on both sides. Now, it feels one-sided. The units are no longer trying to understand. They have already processed what they needed. Briggs senses it too. His posture changes, not dramatically, but enough to show a shift in mindset. He is no longer waiting to see what happens. He is preparing for impact. His grip tightens, his stance lowers slightly, and his focus sharpens into something more direct. The hesitation that held him earlier is gone. Malik finally speaks, his voice quieter than before, but more certain. He explains what the phrase likely means. The system has gathered enough behavioral data to predict responses. Movement patterns, reaction time, decision-making under pressure. All of it has been analyzed and stored. The implication is clear. They are no longer unpredictable variables. Riker absorbs that without reacting outwardly. His calm remains intact, but the weight of the situation is now fully present in his decisions. He shifts his stance slightly, not stepping back, but adjusting his balance. It is a subtle preparation, one that signals readiness without triggering escalation. Then the units move. Not forward, not backward. Together. The entire formation adjusts in perfect synchronization, each unit shifting position by the same margin, maintaining alignment while subtly changing their spacing. It is a controlled reconfiguration, not aggressive, but purposeful. The precision of it confirms what Malik suggested. They are operating with a level of coordination that removes randomness entirely. The hum in the facility follows the movement. It changes frequency, aligning with the new formation, as if the system itself is adapting in real time alongside the units. The connection between environment and entity is now impossible to separate. They are not independent elements. They are parts of the same structure. Riker raises his hand again, signaling the team to hold their positions. No sudden movement. No unnecessary action. The command is immediate and understood. The team locks in, every member aware that the margin for error has disappeared. One of the units steps forward again. Not the same one as before. This detail matters. It suggests rotation, variation, a system that does not rely on a single point of interaction. Each unit may be capable of the same function, operating under the same learned parameters. That realization increases the threat level instantly. The unit stops at the same distance the previous one did. The repetition of spacing is exact, almost measured down to the inch. It mirrors the earlier interaction, but now it feels different. This is not a test. It is a controlled execution of a learned sequence. Briggs shifts slightly, his patience reaching its limit. "We can't just stand here," he mutters, not loud, but enough for Riker to hear. Riker does not look at him. "You fire, they respond faster," he replies, calm and direct. That single line reframes the entire situation. This is not about strength or firepower. It is about speed of adaptation. And right now, the system holds that advantage. Malik glances at the console again, hoping for new data, something that might offer a way out. The interface flickers, then stabilizes, revealing another fragment. Behavioral sync initiated. He reads it aloud this time, unable to keep it to himself. The words land harder than the last update. Not just mapping. Not just learning. Alignment. The unit in front of them tilts its head again, but this time the motion is sharper, more precise. It is no longer adjusting. It is executing. The gesture feels less like observation and more like confirmation. Then it moves. Not toward Riker this time. Toward Briggs. The motion is direct, calculated, and perfectly timed. It closes the distance in an instant, stopping just short of contact, but close enough to force an immediate reaction. Briggs fires. The shot echoes through the lab, sharp and controlled. The impact hits the unit squarely. For a fraction of a second, it looks like it worked. Then the surface of the unit shifts. The impact disperses across its structure, not absorbed, not deflected, but redistributed. The material ripples slightly, then stabilizes, as if the energy has been processed and neutralized. No visible damage remains. Briggs freezes. That moment of disbelief costs him. The unit reacts instantly. It does not strike with force. It moves with precision. A single, controlled motion disarms him, redirecting his weapon without destroying it. The speed is almost impossible to track, the movement too clean, too efficient. Briggs stumbles back, not injured, but completely outmatched in that exchange. The rest of the units remain in position. They do not swarm. They do not escalate. They hold. That restraint reinforces the pattern. This is controlled engagement, not chaos. Riker steps forward immediately, placing himself between Briggs and the unit. His weapon is raised now, fully aligned, but he does not fire. His presence is enough to halt further movement. The unit steps back. Not retreating. Resetting. The distance is restored again. The system hum deepens, the frequency stabilizing into a steady rhythm that feels almost final. The interaction has moved past testing, past mapping, into execution. The system has proven its capability. Malik looks at the screen again, and this time the data is clearer than before. Response optimization complete. He exhales slowly, the realization settling in. They're not reacting to us anymore, he says. They're anticipating us. The words hang in the air, heavy and undeniable. Riker lowers his weapon slightly, not out of surrender, but recalibration. The strategy they came in with no longer applies. Every move they make is now part of a system that has already predicted it. The containment unit behind them pulses again, but this time the light is steady, not fluctuating. The energy output has stabilized. Whatever process was building has reached a consistent state. That stability feels more dangerous than the chaos before. The units shift once more, but this time the formation opens. Not wide. Just enough. A path. Clear. Deliberate. It leads out of the lab, back into the corridor. No one moves. The implication is immediate. They are being directed. Not forced. Not chased. Guided. Riker studies the opening, then the units, then the path again. His mind works through the possibilities quickly. This could be a trap. It could be containment. It could be something else entirely. But staying here is no longer an option. He makes the call. Move. The team hesitates for only a second, then follows. They pass through the opening, every step measured, every sense alert. The units do not follow. They remain in the lab, holding their positions, watching. As the team enters the corridor, the lighting shifts again, guiding them forward in the same controlled pattern as before. The path is set. The system is leading. They are being moved. The corridor ahead no longer feels like part of the same facility they entered earlier. The structure is familiar, the walls, the spacing, the sterile design, but the atmosphere has changed completely. The lighting now moves with intention, illuminating sections just ahead of them while dimming everything behind. It creates a narrow path of visibility, almost like a controlled tunnel guiding their movement forward. Riker walks at the front, his pace steady but cautious. He does not rush, even though the pressure to move faster is there. Every step is deliberate. He watches the light, the timing, the way it shifts in response to their position. This is no longer just navigation. It is coordination between their movement and the system controlling the space. Briggs follows just behind, quieter than before. The encounter in the lab has changed him. The confidence he carried earlier is still there, but it has been reshaped into something more focused. He does not question the path now. He studies it. His eyes track the edges of the corridor, looking for anything that does not align with the pattern. Malik stays close, glancing between the path ahead and the device in his hand. The interface is still active, but it behaves differently here. The system is no longer resisting access in the same way. Instead, it provides limited information in controlled bursts, as if feeding him just enough to keep him engaged without giving full control. A new line appears briefly. Route optimization active. He does not need to say it out loud. The meaning is clear from what they are experiencing. The system is not just guiding them. It is calculating the most efficient path based on variables they cannot fully see. That realization adds another layer of tension. Efficiency for what purpose? The corridor turns gradually, not in sharp angles, but in smooth curves that make it harder to anticipate what is ahead. The design forces them to commit to each step without full visibility. It removes the advantage of planning ahead, keeping them reactive even as they try to stay controlled. The hum continues, but it is different here. It is softer, more contained, almost like it is focused within the walls themselves. The frequency remains consistent, but the intensity is reduced. It feels less like a warning and more like a background process running continuously. After a few turns, the corridor opens into a larger chamber. The shift in space is immediate. The ceiling rises higher, the walls spread wider, and the lighting stabilizes into a steady glow. The path ends at the center of this chamber, where a circular platform sits slightly elevated from the floor. It is not large, but it is clearly the focal point of the room. Riker slows as they approach, his attention moving across the entire space. There are no visible units here. No movement. No immediate threat. That absence feels intentional. The system has brought them here for a reason, and whatever that reason is, it has not revealed itself yet. Briggs moves to the side, covering one angle, while the rest of the team spreads out just enough to secure the perimeter without losing cohesion. Their formation is tighter than before, shaped by everything they have already experienced. No one drifts too far. No one breaks line of sight. Malik steps closer to the platform, his device reacting as he approaches. The interface lights up with new activity, more stable than before. The data is still limited, but it is clearer, less fragmented. He scans quickly, trying to understand what this space is designed for. One word appears, steady and uncorrupted. Interface. He frowns slightly, processing it. This isn't just a room, he says, his voice low but certain. Riker looks at the platform, then back at Malik. What is it? Malik hesitates for a second, then answers. It's where the system connects. The implication lands immediately. Connects to what? For who? The platform emits a faint glow, barely noticeable at first. It is not active yet, but it is ready. The surface looks smooth, almost seamless, with no visible controls or interfaces in the traditional sense. It does not invite interaction in a way they recognize. Riker steps closer, stopping just at the edge. He studies the platform carefully, looking for any sign of a trigger, a mechanism, something that explains its function. There is nothing obvious. That lack of clarity makes it more dangerous. The silence in the chamber stretches. Then the system responds. The lighting around the platform intensifies slightly, and a soft tone begins to build. It is not the same hum from before. This is sharper, more focused, almost like a signal designed for a specific purpose. Malik's device reacts instantly. New data floods the screen, faster than before, more structured. Connection protocol ready. His grip tightens. Riker, he says, urgency cutting through his usual calm. Riker does not move onto the platform. He holds his position, waiting. What does it do? He asks. Malik scrolls quickly, trying to keep up with the incoming information. It's designed to link a human interface with the system. The words feel heavy. Not control. Not access. Integration. Briggs shakes his head slightly, tension rising again. That's not happening, he says firm. Riker does not respond immediately. His eyes remain on the platform, but his focus is deeper now. He is not just seeing what is in front of him. He is thinking through the entire sequence that brought them here. The mapping, the synchronization, the guided path. This is not random. This is the next step. The tone in the room sharpens again, and the platform activates. Light spreads across its surface in a controlled pattern, forming lines that intersect and shift, almost like a network coming online. The glow is steady, not overwhelming, but impossible to ignore. At the same time, the entrances to the chamber close. Not with force, with precision. Panels slide into place, sealing the room without noise. The team reacts instantly, turning toward the exits, but it is already done. The path behind them is gone. The system has completed the transition from guidance to containment. Briggs moves toward one of the sealed sections, checking for any weakness, but there is none. The surface is solid, integrated into the structure itself. There is no visible way out. They locked us in, he says, frustration breaking through. Malik does not look up from the device. They didn't lock us in, he replies. They brought us here. That distinction matters. Riker steps onto the platform. The decision is immediate. No hesitation. The moment his foot makes contact, the system reacts. The light intensifies, spreading outward from the point of contact. The tone sharpens into a focused frequency, and the air in the chamber shifts, becoming heavier, more charged. The rest of the team freezes. Briggs turns toward him, ready to pull him back if needed, but stops. Because Riker does not show any sign of distress. He stands still, centered, his posture steady. The platform responds. Lines of light move across its surface, converging beneath him, then extending outward in patterns that match the structure of the room. The entire chamber begins to synchronize with the platform, every element aligning to a single point. Malik watches, his expression shifting from concern to realization. It's not forcing him, he says. It's syncing with him. The words change the meaning of everything happening. Riker's face remains calm, but there is a subtle shift in his focus. His eyes move slightly, not tracking the physical space, but something else. Something internal, or perhaps something being projected directly into his perception. The system hum returns, stronger now, but controlled. The connection has begun. The part ends with Riker standing at the center of the platform, surrounded by light that moves in precise patterns, as the system begins to integrate him into its network. The light beneath Riker does not flare or surge out of control. It stabilizes, holding a consistent intensity that feels intentional. The patterns moving across the platform slow down, becoming more structured, less reactive. What started as activation now feels like calibration. The system is not overwhelming him. It is aligning itself with him, step by step. Riker's posture remains steady, but there is a subtle change in how he holds himself. His shoulders relax slightly, not out of comfort, but because the tension he was carrying is being redirected. His focus is no longer on the physical space around him. It has shifted inward, or perhaps outward into something only he can access now. Briggs watches closely, his instincts pulling him in two directions at once. One part of him wants to step forward, to pull Riker off the platform before anything goes further. The other part recognizes that interrupting this process could make things worse. That conflict shows in his stance, in the slight forward lean he cannot fully commit to. Malik steps closer to the edge of the platform, his eyes locked on the interface. The data is no longer fragmented. It flows continuously now, structured in a way that suggests the system has moved past resistance. It is not blocking him anymore. It is sharing, but only what aligns with the current process. He scans quickly, trying to understand what is happening inside the connection. Neural link established. The phrase appears clearly, without distortion. Malik exhales slowly, absorbing the weight of it. This is no longer theoretical. The system has successfully connected to Riker at a level deeper than physical interaction. It is not just reading him. It is interfacing with him directly. Riker's eyes shift slightly, focusing on something beyond the room. The movement is subtle, but it confirms that he is seeing something. His breathing remains steady, controlled, but there is a rhythm to it now that matches the hum of the system. Inside the connection, the experience is not visual in a traditional sense. It is structured data presented as perception. Patterns, sequences, and signals forming a space that is not bound by physical limits. The system does not communicate with language. It communicates with structure. At first, it presents fragments, moments from the facility, the units, the mapping process. Each piece appears not as memory, but as a reconstructed sequence, stripped of emotion and reduced to pure data. It is showing him what it has learned, what it has processed, and how it understands the environment. Riker does not resist. He observes. That choice allows the connection to deepen. The fragments expand. Now it shows projections, possible movements, predicted responses. Every action the team has taken is broken down into patterns, then reassembled into outcomes. The system runs through them rapidly, adjusting variables, refining results. It is not just replaying events. It is simulating what could happen next. Outside the connection, Malik watches the data stream accelerate. Predictive modeling active. He reads it quietly, almost to himself. The system is not waiting for decisions anymore. It is calculating them in advance. Briggs shifts again, unable to stay still. He's not reacting, he says, his voice tighter now. Malik glances at him briefly. He doesn't need to, he replies. That answer does not ease the tension. On the platform, Riker's expression remains controlled, but there is a slight tightening around his eyes. The connection is deepening further, moving past observation into something more intrusive. The system begins to introduce new layers. Not just data. Control. It tests pathways, subtle at first. A suggestion of movement. A shift in focus. Not commands, but influences. It is not forcing action. It is measuring response to the idea of action. Riker feels it. The difference between his own intent and the system's influence is small, almost indistinguishable at first. That is where the danger lies. The system is not trying to override him. It is trying to align with him so closely that the distinction disappears. He tightens his focus, grounding himself. That resistance registers. Inside the connection, the patterns shift. The system adapts. It reduces pressure, recalibrates, then approaches from a different angle. Instead of influencing movement, it presents outcomes. If this, then that. A sequence of possibilities, each one more efficient than the last. Efficiency becomes the core principle. Outside, Malik sees another update. Cognitive alignment in progress. His grip tightens. It's trying to match him, he says, more urgently now. Not control. Match. Briggs looks back at Riker, then at the platform. And then what? He asks. Malik does not answer immediately, because the answer is already forming on the screen. Directive integration pending. The words sit there, steady and unavoidable. Back inside the connection, the system shifts again. The projections become clearer, more detailed. It shows Riker the facility, not as it is, but as a network. Every unit, every system, every pathway connected and active. The entire structure is visible at once, not in pieces, but as a whole. It offers him perspective, control points, access pathways. It is not just sharing information. It is offering position. Riker understands the implication instantly. This is not about learning him anymore. This is about placing him within the system. The hum in the chamber deepens, matching the intensity of the connection. The light beneath him stabilizes further, no longer shifting rapidly, but holding a constant pattern that reflects the network he is seeing. Malik steps closer, his voice sharper now. Riker, you need to break it, he says. No response. Riker's focus remains locked inside the connection. Briggs moves forward, stopping just short of the platform. Captain, he calls, louder this time. Still nothing. The system tightens its alignment. The distinction between Riker's perception and the system's structure begins to blur. The patterns it presents feel less external, more integrated. The line between observation and participation is thinning. Then it makes its move. Not force. Not command. A single, clear pathway. Full integration. The concept is presented without emotion, without urgency, but with complete clarity. It shows what it would mean. Total access. Total synchronization. No delay between decision and execution. Perfect efficiency. The cost is not stated. It does not need to be. Riker holds his position. For a moment, it looks like he might accept. The system stabilizes, waiting. Then something shifts. A memory. Not from the system. From him. The mission. The uncertainty that defined every step before this. That imperfection becomes his anchor. The system registers the change instantly. The patterns shift. The alignment falters. Outside, Malik sees it. Connection instability detected. His voice rises. Break it now. Riker's hand tightens slightly at his side. A small movement, but it is his, not the system's. That distinction matters. The platform reacts. The light flickers for the first time since activation. The hum destabilizes, the frequency breaking its perfect rhythm. The connection strains. The system pushes back, trying to re-establish alignment, but the resistance is no longer passive. It is active. Riker pulls back. Not physically, mentally. The patterns begin to collapse. The network fragments. The clarity breaks. The system loses its hold. Then the platform shuts down. The light drops instantly. The hum cuts out. Silence fills the chamber. Riker steps back. Off the platform. His breathing is steady, but heavier now. His focus returns to the room, sharp and immediate. The connection is gone. For a moment, nothing moves. Then the system responds. The walls of the chamber shift. Panels retract. New pathways open. Not the one they came from. Different. Unfamiliar. The tone returns, softer now, but present. Malik looks at the screen one last time. Directive failed. The words confirm it. The system did not get what it wanted. But it is not shutting down. It is adjusting. Riker looks toward the newly opened path, his expression sharper than before. He understands now. This was never just a test. It was recruitment. And they just refused. The part ends with the team turning toward the new corridor, knowing the system will not respond the same way again. The new corridor does not resemble anything they have passed through before. The design is sharper, more angular, with darker surfaces that absorb light instead of reflecting it. The controlled illumination that guided them earlier is gone. Here, the lighting is fixed, dim, and uneven, leaving sections of the path partially obscured. It feels less like guidance and more like exposure. Riker steps forward first, not waiting for confirmation. The shift in his approach is subtle but clear. Before, he allowed the system to lead while he observed. Now, he moves with intent, fully aware that whatever comes next will not be controlled in their favor. The refusal inside the chamber has changed the rules. Briggs follows closely, his earlier restraint replaced with sharpened readiness. He keeps his weapon raised at a slightly higher angle, scanning faster, no longer expecting predictable patterns. The encounter in the chamber has removed any illusion of control. Now, every movement carries weight. Malik lingers for half a second at the threshold, glancing back at the platform. The room behind them is already dimming, the system reallocating energy away from a process it considers complete. That detail stays with him. This place does not waste resources. Everything it does serves a purpose. He turns and moves forward. The corridor narrows as they advance, forcing them into a tighter formation. The walls feel closer, the air heavier, as if the space itself is compressing around them. The hum returns, but it is different now. Less structured, less precise. It carries a rough edge that was not there before. The system is no longer aligning. It is recalibrating. After a short distance, the first sign of change appears. The walls begin to shift. Not dramatically, but enough to notice. Panels slide inward by small increments, altering the shape of the corridor as they move through it. The adjustments are subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but over time they reshape the space into something less predictable. Straight lines become angles. Clear paths become narrow turns. Briggs notices it first. "It's changing the layout," he says, his voice low. Riker nods once. "Keep moving." They do not stop. Stopping would give the system time to adapt further. Movement is the only variable they can still control. Malik checks his device again, but the interface has changed. The clear data stream from the chamber is gone. What remains is fragmented, delayed, and partially obscured. The system has restricted access again, pulling back after the failed integration. One line appears briefly before fading. Adaptive containment active. He does not repeat it immediately. He understands what it means. The system is no longer trying to connect. It is trying to contain. The corridor splits ahead. Two paths. No indicators. No guidance. The lighting does not favor one over the other. For the first time since entering the facility, they are not being directed. Riker slows, just enough to assess. He studies both paths, not for visual differences, but for subtle cues. Air movement, sound variation, structural consistency. The details are minimal, but they matter. The left path feels tighter, more confined. The right path opens slightly, just enough to suggest movement beyond. He chooses right. Not because it feels safer, because it offers more space to react. They move. The corridor curves almost immediately, removing any chance to see ahead. The lighting flickers once, then stabilizes. The hum shifts again, rising slightly in pitch as if responding to their choice. The system is tracking them. Not guiding. Tracking. After a few turns, the space opens again, but not into a chamber like before. This area is different. More industrial. More exposed. Structures line the walls, not sealed units, but open frameworks filled with mechanical components. Cables run across the ceiling, connecting systems in visible networks. This part of the facility feels less controlled, more raw, like the internal workings of something larger. Malik slows, taking it in. This is deeper, he says quietly. Core systems. Riker does not respond, but his focus sharpens. Core means control. And control means risk. They move through the space carefully, stepping around exposed sections, avoiding direct contact with anything active. The hum is stronger here, vibrating through the floor, through the walls, through them. Then the sound changes. A sharp metallic shift. Close. Too close. Briggs turns instantly, weapon raised. This time, there is no delay. A unit emerges from the structure to their left. Not from a corridor. From the wall itself. It separates from the framework smoothly, as if it was part of the structure all along. Its form stabilizes as it steps forward, the adaptive surface shifting into alignment. No formation. No distance. Immediate engagement. Briggs fires. The shot hits, the same as before, and the same result follows. The impact disperses across the surface, absorbed and neutralized without damage. But this time, the unit does not pause. It moves through the shot. Closing distance. Riker reacts instantly, stepping in to redirect its path. His movement is precise, controlled, aimed at disrupting its trajectory rather than overpowering it. The contact is brief, but enough to shift the unit off balance for a fraction of a second. That fraction matters. Move, he orders. The team advances, not engaging further. They pass the unit, using motion as their advantage. The unit recovers quickly, turning to follow, but not immediately attacking again. It tracks them, its movements aligned with their pace, maintaining distance rather than closing it. It is hurting. The realization hits Malik. It's not trying to stop us, he says. It's steering us. The pattern becomes clear. The path they chose. The layout shifting. The unit's behavior. This is not random containment. This is controlled movement toward a specific point. Ahead, the space narrows again, funneling them into another corridor. This one is different. The lighting is brighter. The hum is stronger. The air feels charged, similar to the chamber, but more intense. Riker slows slightly, recognizing the shift. This is another key point. Not an exit. A stage. Behind them, the unit continues to follow, maintaining pressure without direct attack. Briggs glances back once, then forward again. We're being boxed in, he says. Riker does not deny it. He steps into the corridor. The moment they cross the threshold, the environment reacts. The walls seal behind them. Faster than before. More forceful. The sound echoes sharply through the space. No way back. Ahead, the corridor extends straight, no turns, no openings. At the far end, something waits. Not a platform. Not a chamber. A structure. Larger. More defined. And active. The light around it pulses in a steady rhythm, stronger than anything they have seen so far. Malik looks at his device one more time. One final line appears. Containment phase escalation. He exhales slowly. This isn't containment anymore, he says. Riker's eyes remain fixed ahead. No, he replies. It's the next level. The part ends with the team moving forward toward the structure, fully aware that the system has shifted from testing and guidance into something far more aggressive and controlled. The structure at the end of the corridor does not resemble anything they have encountered so far. It is not enclosed like the containment units, and it does not feel like a control platform either. It stands open, layered with interlocking components that shift subtly even when untouched. The light around it pulses in a steady rhythm, stronger than before, casting sharp reflections across the corridor walls. Riker slows his pace as they approach, not out of hesitation, but to observe. Every detail matters now. The system has moved past subtle manipulation. This is direct escalation, and whatever this structure represents, it is not designed for passive interaction. Briggs stays close, his weapon fixed on the center of the structure. His movements are tighter, more controlled, but there is no restraint left in his posture. He is ready to act the moment something shifts. The earlier encounters have removed any doubt about what they are facing. Malik lingers a step behind, his attention split between the structure and the device in his hand. The interface flickers again, but unlike before, the data is unstable, almost erratic. The system is not sharing information anymore. It is flooding the channel with partial signals, fragments that do not fully connect. One phrase manages to hold long enough to read. Command node active. Malik's expression tightens. This isn't just another system point, he says, his voice low. It's central. The word lands with weight. Central means control. Control means authority. Riker steps closer, stopping just outside the immediate range of the structure. He studies the movement of its components, the way they shift and align, not randomly, but with purpose. It feels alive in a different way than the units. Less reactive, more stable, like the source rather than the extension. The hum in the corridor intensifies as they get closer, vibrating through the floor with a steady, grounded force. It is not layered or fluctuating like before. It is constant. That consistency makes it feel more dangerous. Behind them, the unit that had been following stops at the entrance of the corridor. It does not move forward. It holds position, as if it has reached the limit of its role in this sequence. That detail does not go unnoticed. They're not coming in, Briggs says, glancing back briefly. Riker nods once. They don't need to. The implication is clear. Whatever happens next will come from here. The structure shifts again, this time more noticeably. Panels slide into new positions, exposing internal components that glow with a faint, controlled light. The movement is not defensive. It is preparatory. Malik steps slightly closer, his device reacting to the increased activity. The interface stabilizes for a moment, enough to reveal a new line. Primary directive execution ready. He reads it aloud without thinking. The words echo slightly in the corridor, amplified by the tight space. Briggs exhales sharply. And what exactly is that directive, he asks. No one answers. Because the system does. The structure emits a sharp pulse of light, brighter than anything before, and the hum spikes in response. The air shifts, pressure building rapidly for a brief second before stabilizing again. Then it moves. Not the entire structure. A section of it. It separates cleanly, detaching from the core with precise motion. The components reconfigure mid-movement, reshaping into a form that is instantly recognizable. A unit, but not like the others. Larger, more defined. Its surface does not shift as fluidly. It holds form with greater stability, reflecting light in sharper lines. The design feels refined, less experimental, more complete. It steps forward. The sound of its movement is heavier, more grounded. Each step carries weight, not just physically, but in presence. This is not a prototype. This is a finished version. Briggs raises his weapon immediately. This one's different, he says. Riker does not respond verbally, but his posture confirms it. He adjusts his stance, aligning himself directly with the new unit, recognizing the shift in threat level. The unit stops at a measured distance. Its head lifts slightly, not tilting like the others, but locking into position. The motion is sharper, more decisive. It does not study them with curiosity. It evaluates. Malik watches, his mind racing to connect what he is seeing with the fragments of data he has gathered. This is the command layer, he says. It's not just following orders. It gives them. The statement lands heavily. This changes everything. The earlier units were part of a network. This one is the node that directs it. The hum stabilizes again, aligning perfectly with the presence of this new unit. The connection between it and the structure behind becomes clear. It is not separate. It is an extension of it. The unit moves first. No hesitation. No testing. It advances with controlled speed, closing the distance faster than the previous units ever did. The movement is direct, efficient, without unnecessary adjustment. Briggs fires. Multiple shots. Each one lands. Each one fails. The impacts disperse across the surface, but this time the response is different. The unit does not just absorb the energy. It redirects it. The light across its surface shifts with each impact, channeling the force away from critical areas. The effect is seamless, almost effortless. It does not slow down. Riker steps in. He does not try to overpower it. He intercepts. His movement is precise, aimed at disrupting its momentum rather than stopping it outright. The contact is brief but calculated, forcing the unit to adjust its path slightly. For a fraction of a second, it works. Then the unit adapts. Its movement changes instantly, compensating for the disruption as if it had already calculated the possibility. It pivots, faster than before, and closes the gap again. This time, it reaches him. The contact is controlled, but forceful enough to push him back a step. Not enough to injure. Enough to dominate space. Briggs moves in to support, but the unit reacts before he can close the distance. A single motion redirects his approach, forcing him offline without direct impact. Malik steps back instinctively, keeping distance as the engagement tightens. The difference is clear now. This unit is not reacting. It is executing. Every movement is efficient. Every response is immediate. No hesitation. No delay. Riker regains his footing quickly, his focus sharper than before. He adjusts his approach, abandoning any attempt to predict based on previous encounters. This requires something different. He changes rhythm. Instead of meeting force with force, he shifts timing, introducing unpredictability back into his movement. Short bursts, irregular pacing, controlled pauses. For the first time, the unit hesitates. Not long, but enough. That gap creates an opening. Riker uses it. He moves in faster, sharper, targeting a joint in the structure where the surface shifts slightly during motion. It is a small detail, but it is there. The unit reacts instantly, adjusting to protect the point, but the disruption is enough to break its perfect flow. For a moment, the balance shifts. Briggs sees it and moves in again, this time coordinating with Riker's rhythm rather than forcing his own. The combination creates pressure the unit has not yet fully adapted to. The system responds. The structure behind the unit pulses, the light intensifying as if feeding additional energy into the engagement. The hum rises, the frequency sharpening. The unit stabilizes again. Faster this time. The adaptation window is shrinking. Malik looks at the device, searching for anything that can help, anything that reveals a weakness, a limit. One line appears. Override pathway restricted. He exhales sharply. There's no direct access, he says. We can't shut it down from here. Riker hears it but does not break focus. The fight continues, tighter now, faster, more precise. Every movement counts. Every second matters. The part ends with the team locked in direct engagement with the command unit, the system fully committed to its primary directive, and the margin for survival narrowing with every exchange. The rhythm of the fight tightens to a point where every movement feels compressed. There is no space left for hesitation. The command unit does not rush, but it does not slow either. It maintains a constant pressure that forces Riker and Briggs to stay in motion, adjusting continuously just to hold position. Riker shifts again, breaking the pattern he just established. He shortens his steps, reduces the range of his movements, pulling the engagement into a tighter space. The change is subtle, but it alters the timing. The The unit expects extension, expects momentum. By removing that, he creates a slight delay in its response. It is enough to notice, not enough to win. Briggs adjusts alongside him, reading the shift without needing instruction. His movements become more controlled, less aggressive, focused on support rather than direct confrontation. He angles his position to limit the unit's options, forcing it to choose between targets instead of engaging both at once. For a moment, the pressure stabilizes. Then the system reacts. The structure behind the unit pulses again, but this time the response is immediate. The unit's movements sharpen, the delay disappears, and the gap Riker created closes completely. The adaptation is faster now, almost instant. Malik watches the data stream spike again. Adaptive loop acceleration. He mutters it under his breath, realizing what it means. It's shortening its response time. He says, louder now. Every move we make, it learns faster. That changes the equation. Time is no longer on their side. Riker hears it and his focus shifts. If the system improves with every exchange, then prolonged engagement only makes it stronger. The solution is not to outfight it. It is to break the loop. He steps back suddenly, disengaging without warning. The unit advances immediately, closing the distance to maintain pressure, but that is exactly what he wants. He leads it not away from the structure, but toward it. Briggs catches on a second later and follows, adjusting his angle to keep the unit's attention forward. Malik sees it too. "You're pulling it to the node," he says. Riker does not answer. He keeps moving. The space between them and the structure shrinks quickly. The hum intensifies as they approach, the energy output rising in response to the proximity. The system is focusing more resources here, reinforcing the command unit. That reinforcement is the risk. And the opportunity. The unit closes in again, faster than before, forcing Riker to react immediately. He pivots, redirecting its movement just enough to keep it aligned with the structure behind it. The motion is precise, controlled, calculated down to the smallest detail. Briggs steps in, adding pressure from the side, forcing the unit to adjust its position again. For a brief moment, the unit is perfectly aligned between them and the structure. That moment is all they need. "Now," Riker says. Briggs fires, not at the unit's center, but at the exposed components of the structure behind it. The shots hit, sparks breaking across the surface, disrupting the clean flow of energy for the first time. The effect is immediate. The hum fractures. The steady rhythm breaks into uneven pulses. The unit reacts, not by attacking, by stabilizing. It shifts its position, trying to re-establish alignment with the structure, prioritizing connection over engagement. That priority reveals something important. The unit depends on the node. Riker moves instantly, closing the gap while the unit is focused elsewhere. He targets the same point again, the small structural shift he noticed earlier, but this time with more force, more precision. The unit reacts, faster than before, but not perfectly. The disruption from the structure has created a delay. A small one, but real. Briggs follows up, coordinating with Riker's movement, applying pressure from the opposite side. The unit is forced to split its response, dividing attention between multiple points. For the first time, it loses perfect efficiency. Malik sees the data change. Signal integrity compromised. His eyes widen slightly. "It's working," he says. "Keep pushing." The structure pulses again, but the rhythm is broken now. The energy flow is uneven, fluctuating instead of stable. The system is trying to compensate, but the disruption has introduced instability. The unit reacts aggressively for the first time. Not controlled, not measured. It moves faster, sharper, abandoning some of its precision for speed. The change is noticeable. It is no longer perfectly balanced. It is compensating. That makes it dangerous, but also vulnerable. Riker adjusts again, this time pushing harder, forcing the unit to react instead of execute. He increases pressure, shortens the gaps, denies it the space it needs to recalibrate. Briggs matches him, their movements finally synchronized in a way the system has not fully adapted to. The unit struggles to maintain alignment. The structure behind it flickers, the light breaking in uneven patterns. Malik moves closer to the console integrated into the node, his device finally picking up a stable signal through the disruption. New data appears. Override window open. He freezes for a fraction of a second. This is a narrow opportunity. Riker, he calls out, urgency cutting through everything. I've got a window. Riker does not look back. How long, he asks. Seconds. That is enough. Take it. Malik moves fast, connecting his device directly to the node. The interface resists, but the instability has weakened its defenses. The data stream floods in, chaotic but accessible. He searches quickly, filtering through layers, looking for a control pathway, something that can shut this down. The unit reacts instantly. It turns toward Malik. The priority shifts. The node is under threat. Briggs intercepts, stepping into its path, forcing it to engage again. The movement is sharp, controlled, but the unit is faster now, more aggressive. It pushes through. Riker steps in again, redirecting, disrupting, buying time. Malik finds it. A command string. Partial. Unstable. But real. He initiates the override. The system pushes back immediately, resistance surging through the interface. The connection strains, data flickering, trying to break his access. Come on, he mutters, forcing it through. The unit breaks through the engagement. It reaches him. Riker moves. Too late to stop it completely, but not too late to interfere. He collides with the unit, shifting its trajectory just enough to throw off its timing. The unit strikes. The impact hits Malik's device, not him. The connection breaks. The interface goes dark. The override fails. The system stabilizes instantly. The hum returns to a steady, controlled rhythm. The structure's light locks back into place. The unit resets. Perfect, efficient, untouched. Malik stumbles back, catching himself, his device flickering but still functional. I lost it, he says, frustration cutting through. Riker steadies himself, his breathing controlled but heavier now. The opportunity is gone. The system has adapted again. Faster than before. Stronger than before. The unit steps forward, fully stabilized, its movements precise once more. The advantage they created has been erased. But something has changed. The system knows they can reach it now. And that changes how it will respond next. The part ends with the command unit advancing again, the node fully active, and the team forced back into a fight that has become even more dangerous after their failed attempt to shut it down. The moment the system stabilizes, the atmosphere in the corridor changes again. Not gradually, not subtly, but instantly. The hum locks into a deeper, heavier frequency that feels anchored beneath everything, as if the entire structure has reinforced itself from the inside out. The instability they created is gone, replaced by something more rigid, more controlled. Riker feels it before he fully registers it. The unit in front of him does not just reset. It sharpens. Its movements are tighter, more refined, stripped of the slight imperfections that gave them an opening before. The adaptation is complete. Whatever weakness they exposed, the system has already corrected it. Briggs takes a half step back, not retreating, but adjusting his position to regain balance. His breathing is heavier now, his focus intense. The brief moment where they had control is gone, and the realization hits hard. This is not a fight they can win by repeating the same approach. Malik steadies himself, glancing at the device in his hand. The interface is active again, but the data is different. Minimal. Controlled. The system is no longer leaking information. It has closed the gap completely. One line appears. Threat level escalated. He exhales slowly. It's done adjusting, he says. It knows what we can do. The command unit moves. No hesitation. No testing. It advances with a speed that feels final, closing the distance faster than before, its path direct and unbroken. There is no attempt to observe or analyze mid-movement. It already has the data it needs. Riker reacts instantly, but this time he does not try to intercept directly. He shifts sideways, forcing the unit to adjust its trajectory instead of meeting it head-on. The movement buys him a fraction of space, just enough to avoid immediate contact. The unit adapts. Immediately, it pivots mid-movement, correcting its path without losing speed. The adjustment is seamless, almost predictive. Briggs fires again, aiming for the same weak points they targeted before, but the unit does not even need to absorb the impact this time. It shifts its surface preemptively, redirecting the force before it fully lands. Prediction, not reaction. The difference is clear. Too fast, Briggs mutters, frustration cutting through his voice. Riker does not respond. He is already changing approach again. He breaks rhythm completely, moving in short, unpredictable bursts, forcing the unit to constantly recalibrate. The goal is no longer to create openings. It is to create noise, uncertainty, anything that disrupts the system's ability to predict perfectly. For a moment, it works. The unit hesitates. Not long, but enough to confirm that unpredictability still has value. Malik sees the data flicker again. Prediction variance detected. His eyes narrow. "That's it," he says. "You're throwing it off." But the system responds just as quickly. The structure behind the unit pulses again, stronger than before, reinforcing the connection. The hum deepens, the frequency stabilizing once more. The hesitation disappears. The prediction sharpens. The window closes. Riker exhales slowly, the realization settling in. They cannot outpace the system. They cannot outfight it. And now, they cannot outmaneuver it for long. The unit closes in again. This time, it does not just engage. It overwhelms. Its movements chain together seamlessly, one action flowing into the next without pause. Every step forces Riker back, compressing space, removing options. The pressure builds rapidly, leaving no room to reset. Briggs steps in to support, but the unit anticipates it, redirecting its movement before Briggs even fully commits. The interception fails before it begins. Malik backs away, creating distance, his mind racing for another solution. Direct override is no longer an option. The system has locked that pathway completely. He looks at the structure again. The node. The source. If they cannot access it through the interface, maybe they can disrupt it physically. But the last attempt already showed the risk. The system adapts instantly. He needs something different. Something the system cannot predict. His eyes move back to Riker. To the platform. To the connection. The thought forms. Not clear. Not complete. But dangerous. "Riker," he calls out. Riker does not look back, still locked in movement with the unit. "Make it focus on you," Malik says. "It already is," Riker replies, his voice steady despite the pressure. "Not like this," Malik says, sharper now. "I mean completely." That gets his attention. For a fraction of a second. "What are you thinking?" Riker asks. Malik hesitates. Because he is not fully sure. But the idea is there. "The system learned you," he says. "It mapped you deeper than the rest of us." Riker deflects another strike, shifting position again. "And," he says, "and that means you're the priority," Malik continues. "If we push that, if we overload that link." He does not finish the sentence. He does not need to. Riker understands. Use the connection against the system. Turn its own integration attempt into a weakness. It is risky. Unpredictable. Exactly what they need. "Do it," Riker says. No hesitation. He changes his movement instantly. Instead of avoiding the unit, he draws closer. Direct. Intentional. He becomes the center of engagement, forcing the unit to commit fully to him. Every movement he makes is designed to hold its focus, to prevent it from splitting attention. The unit responds exactly as expected. It locks onto him. Fully. Briggs sees the shift and adjusts, pulling back slightly, creating space instead of closing it. Pulling back slightly, creating space instead of closing it. It feels wrong, stepping away from the fight, but he trusts the move. Malik moves toward the node again. Faster this time. More direct. The system reacts. The structure pulses sharply, the hum rising in response. The unit hesitates. Just for a fraction of a second. Its focus splits. Riker pushes. He increases pressure, forcing it to choose. It chooses him. The connection locks fully. Malik reaches the node, connecting his device again. This time, the resistance is stronger. The system pushes back harder. But the focus on Riker creates a gap. A small one. Enough. The interface flickers wildly, data flooding in chaotic bursts. He searches quickly, not for control. For disruption. For anything tied to the neural mapping. He finds it. A feedback loop. Unstable. Unfinished. He initiates it. The system reacts instantly. The hum spikes. The light fractures. The unit freezes. For the first time since activation, it stops completely. Its movements lock. Its surface flickers, the adaptive material struggling to stabilize. Riker steps back, recognizing the shift immediately. Now, Malik says, his voice tight. The feedback loop intensifies. The system tries to correct it, but the connection is too deep, too direct. The mapping it used to predict is now being turned against it. The unit's movements become erratic. Not random, but unstable. The precision is gone. The control is slipping. Briggs moves in again, this time without hesitation. He strikes. Not with expectation of damage, but with intent to disrupt further. The impact lands. The unit reacts slower. Not enough to stop him. For the first time, they are ahead. The structure behind it flickers violently, the light breaking into uneven patterns. The hum fractures completely. The system is no longer stable. Malik holds the connection, forcing the loop to continue. Keep it there, he says. I can't hold this long. Riker steps in again, controlled, precise, targeting the same structural weak points. The unit tries to respond, but it is too slow. The adaptation is failing. The loop is working. The balance shifts. For the first time, the system is on the defensive. The part ends with the command unit destabilizing under the feedback loop, the node flickering, and the team finally creating a real opening against a system that has controlled every moment until now. The feedback loop does not just disrupt the system, it begins to expose something deeper within it. The structure behind the command unit no longer holds a stable rhythm. Its light fractures into uneven pulses, each one slightly out of sync with the last. The hum that once felt controlled now carries distortion, like a signal breaking under pressure. This is the first time the facility feels unstable from the inside, not because of external force, but because its own logic is turning against itself. Riker does not waste the opening. He steps in with controlled aggression, not rushing, not overcommitting, but applying pressure exactly where the system is weakest. His movements are sharper now, less about testing and more about execution. Every step is calculated to keep the unit within the unstable range created by Malik's interference. The goal is no longer to survive the system. It is to break it before it corrects itself again. Briggs matches him, but his approach has evolved. He is no longer trying to overpower the unit. Instead, he focuses on timing, striking only when Riker creates space, reinforcing disruption instead of creating his own. That coordination creates a rhythm the system cannot immediately predict. It is not perfect, but it is enough to keep the pressure consistent. The command unit reacts, but not with the same precision as before. Its movements stutter slightly, small delays appearing between action and response. The adaptive surface flickers, struggling to maintain its usual fluidity. It is still dangerous, still fast, but no longer flawless. That imperfection is exactly what they needed. Malik holds the connection at the node, his focus locked on the unstable feedback loop. The data flooding his device is chaotic, constantly shifting as the system tries to regain control. He is not trying to understand it fully. He is forcing it to stay broken. Every second he holds this loop increases the strain on the system's core processes. Keep it engaged, he says, his voice tight with effort. If it stabilizes, we lose this. Riker does not respond verbally, but his actions answer clearly. He closes distance again, forcing the unit into another exchange before it can reset. The movement is immediate, aggressive, but still controlled. He does not give it time to adapt. The unit attempts to counter, but the delay is still there. Its response comes a fraction too late, just enough for Riker to slip past its initial defense and strike again at the same structural point. The impact does not destroy it, but it disrupts its balance further. Briggs steps in from the side, adding pressure at the exact moment the unit tries to recover. The combined force pushes it back slightly, not enough to knock it down, but enough to break its positioning. For the first time, it is being forced to react instead of dictate. The structure behind it pulses violently, the light breaking into sharp flashes that illuminate the corridor in uneven bursts. The hum becomes erratic, rising and falling unpredictably. The system is trying to compensate, but the feedback loop is interfering with every correction. Malik feels the strain increase. "They're trying to isolate the loop," he says. "I can feel it." His hands tighten around the device, forcing the connection to stay active. The interface flickers dangerously, threatening to cut out at any second. He pushes harder, keeping the pathway open even as the system fights back. Riker notices the shift immediately. "How long?" he asks, still moving, still engaged. "Not long," Malik replies. "Seconds again." That is all they have. Riker changes approach one more time. Instead of maintaining distance, he commits fully, closing in tighter than before. The risk increases instantly. The margin for error disappears. But the reward is clear. The closer he stays, the harder it becomes for the unit to recalibrate. The command unit reacts, its movements sharper again for a brief moment as the system attempts to stabilize it. It lashes out with controlled force, pushing Riker back a step, trying to reclaim space. But the timing is still off. The precision is still broken. Riker absorbs the movement and redirects, staying within range, refusing to give it the space it needs. Briggs moves in again, this time faster, more decisive. He does not wait for a perfect opening. He creates one by forcing the unit to split its attention. The movement is risky, but it works. The unit hesitates just long enough. "Now," Malik says, urgency cutting through. He pushes the feedback loop further, forcing more data through the unstable pathway. The system reacts violently. The structure behind the unit flashes brighter than before, then dims suddenly, as if power is being redirected in conflicting directions. The unit freezes again. Not completely, but enough. Its movements slow, its surface flickering harder, struggling to maintain cohesion. The adaptive material begins to lose its smooth flow, breaking into sharper, less stable patterns. Riker sees it. This is the moment. He steps in with full commitment, targeting the same weak point again, but this time with everything aligned. Timing, pressure, instability, all converging at once. The strike lands. The effect is different. The unit does not absorb it cleanly. The surface fractures. Not visibly breaking apart, but losing cohesion, the adaptive layer destabilizing under the combined stress of the feedback loop and the direct impact. Briggs follows immediately, reinforcing the pressure, driving the disruption deeper. The unit staggers. A small movement, but real. The structure behind it reacts violently, the light collapsing inward, then expanding again in an uneven surge. The hum spikes, then drops, then spikes again, completely out of sync. Malik feels the connection slipping. "I'm losing it," he says. He pushes harder, forcing the loop to hold just a little longer. The system fights back with everything it has left. The data stream surges, overwhelming the interface, trying to break the connection completely. The device flickers, nearly shutting down under the strain. Riker does not stop. He presses forward again, forcing the unit further off balance, keeping it within the unstable range. The command unit attempts one final adjustment. It tries to stabilize, to reassert control. But the timing is gone. The precision is broken. The system cannot recover fast enough. Malik makes the final push. He forces the feedback loop to overload. The connection spikes. The system reacts instantly. Then everything collapses at once. The light from the structure cuts out. The hum drops to silence. The unit freezes completely. No movement. No adaptation. No response. For the first time since they entered the facility, the system stops. Completely. Malik's device goes dark. The connection is gone. He stumbles back, catching himself, breathing hard. Riker steps away from the unit, his eyes still locked on it, waiting for any sign of movement. Nothing. Briggs lowers his weapon slightly, not fully, but enough to show the shift. "Is it over?" he asks. Riker does not answer immediately. He watches. He waits. Because a system like this does not fail easily. The silence stretches. Unnatural. Heavy. Then something changes. Not the unit. Not the structure. The facility itself. The walls begin to shift. The lighting flickers back on, but different now, colder, harsher. The system is not gone. It is resetting. The part ends with the team standing in the aftermath of the shutdown, the command unit inactive, but the facility around them beginning to come back